The first time Dr. Elena Mercado felt the words forcing themselves up her throat, she was alone in the archives of the Universidad Nacional. The lamp cast a gold luster across the cracked folios of Codex Vitreus, a manuscript rumored to have belonged to the cult of the Silenced Star, active somewhere on the edges of the Roman Empire. She had spent months cataloging its symbols. Hours earlier, she had cracked a grammatical pattern, glyphs radiating from a central ideogram, conjugated by direction rather than tense. She whispered the discovery to herself, pleased. Then the language hijacked her. A ribbon of syllables spilled from her mouth, harsh consonants stitched to vowels so pure they made her teeth ache. The sound floated through the dusty hall, resonant like struck crystal. Shocked, Elena clapped a hand over her lips. The voice was hers, but the cadence felt ancient, coaxing some buried organ of the ear awake. She fled to the washroom, vomiting into an iron sink, spitting out the taste of salt and iron. Her hands shook so fiercely her phone crashed to the tiles. Yet once the echo faded, she dismissed it as exhaustion. 2 nights of no sleep, 6 cups of burnt coffee, and a heart still broken after Isabella left. She locked the codex in its fireproof drawer and staggered home. The second time happened in a cafe 3 blocks from campus. She'd brought only a notebook, intending a quiet breakfast. As she stirred sugar into her cortado, the same pressure coiled behind her palate. The words tore free, throaty spirals louder than any cafe chatter. Fathra nulai, torjesh athra. Patrons froze. Cups rattled. An elderly man made the sign of the cross. Elena, mortified, fled again. That night, while transcribing the outburst phonetically, she noticed a phrase repeating, tembrar suelos, to make tremble the soils, in rough Spanish cognate. Unease prickled her scalp, but she convinced herself she'd borrowed the echo from Spanish subconsciously. At dawn, a 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck Oaxaca. Buildings pitched, 8 bridges collapsed, 31 people died. Social media filled with footage of asphalt heaving like black water. Elena watched the news feed in horror. Her cafe outburst had occurred exactly 22 minutes before the quake. Coincidence, she told herself. Lucky guess built on Mexico's tectonic reputation. But when she returned to the manuscript, the ink shimmered at the edges of her vision, as if the symbols had turned on miniature axes to face her. She resolved to share her concerns. In the faculty lounge, she found Professor Renaud, the seismologist whose office was near hers, and opened her mouth. Nothing emerged. No Spanish, no English, only that glacial language. Renaud blinked while Elena vented a flood of alien phonemes. She tried to switch tongues, but the muscles of her larynx refused. A moment later, her phone buzzed. A refinery explosion outside Lyon, Renaud's hometown, had just killed 11 workers. When she finally regained English, Renaud was white-faced. "What the hell was that?" he whispered. "I've been translating a cult text," she said, and nearly choked. The Frenchman's pupils dilated with fear. She felt the air tilt, as if realization weighed several atmospheres. The disasters followed her speech. That afternoon she experimented. She picked a single phrase from the codex, wrote it down, and read it silently. No event followed. Then she recorded herself pronouncing it aloud, transferred the file to a flash drive without listening to playback. Still nothing. Only when she played the recording and let it occupy the room did sirens begin wailing in the neighborhood. An electrical substation fire 10 blocks away. The pattern was unavoidable. Prophecy became fact the instant it reached human ears besides her own. Hearsay as detonator. Elena drafted equations in the margins of her notebook. Voice plus listener, tawazen, event voice, listener, tawazen. Null terrified, she purchased a roll of heavy gauze and taped it over the drawer holding Codex Vitreus like a ward seal from some B-grade horror movie. She swore not to speak any language but Spanish or English. For 3 days, the world behaved. But the silence didn't last. Her doctoral student, Mario, eager to discuss funding, cornered her outside the elevators. She tried to deflect him. The pressure mounted behind her molars, her tongue numbed. Before she could retreat, the flood burst. 12 rapid lines in the cult tongue. Mario stared as though a serpent had crawled from her mouth. "What did you just say?" he gasped. Elena sprinted away, locked herself in the stairwell, beating fists against metal rails. She counted her breaths. 5 minutes later, Mario texted, "Turn on the news." A cable in the Mexico City metro had snapped, derailing a train, killing the cousin he'd just mentioned minutes earlier. Guilt became a physical parasite. She dissected the codex for a loophole, any glyph that suggested cancellation. One marginal notation, scratched by a medieval scribe, caught her attention. "Silence is covenant, speech is tithe." She interpreted tithe as a payment, a sacrifice the universe demanded. The cult, apparently, had kept hush not to hide secrets, but to cage calamity itself. Whenever the urge to prophesy surged, she bit her palm until blood welled. It helped, briefly. Still, the pressure accumulated, ugly as a boil. 6 nights later, government men arrived. They approached at a symposium on endangered languages. Between panels, 2 suited agents flashed credentials from the Secretaría de Gobernación's obscure Office of Protective Affairs. They knew about the earthquake, about the metro crash, about Renault's refinery. They spoke politely. The nation appreciated her unique abilities. Would she accompany them to a secure facility? Elena lied, claiming she had appointments. The taller agent smiled. "Dr. Mercado, these appointments will wait. History will not." They escorted her to a windowless van. She pictured disasters unfurling if she uttered a single word, so she clenched her jaw and obeyed. The facility lay beneath Chapultepec Castle, a Cold War bunker repurposed after the 1985 quake. Fluorescent corridors hummed. A psychiatrist named Dr. Avila welcomed her with chamomile tea, insisting they favored cooperation, not coercion. "We simply want advance warning," Avila said. "A few minutes' notice can save lives." Elena nearly laughed. "You don't understand. My warnings cause the deaths." Avila gestured to a glass wall behind which technicians monitored seismographs and satellite feeds. "Let's verify together," he proposed. They placed her in a soundproof booth, headphones reversing phase to prevent feedback. A microphone dangled, wired to external speakers on Avila's desk. Instruments stood ready. "Whenever you feel the compulsion," Avila said over intercom, "speak. We'll note any correlations." Elena inhaled gingerly. The tongues rose like trapped birds but found no sky. Surrounded by foam baffles, she realized she could mutter without another ear absorbing it. She whispered one line from the codex. The words dissipated against dead walls. Monitors stayed calm. She asked for pen and paper and wrote 3 new lines, slid the page through the slot. Avila read them aloud, phonetic clumsiness bruising the vowels. Instantly alarms rang. A tornado warning in Veracruz, a zone that rarely saw cyclones. On screen, Doppler radar blossomed red spirals. Avila's coffee cup rattled. "My God," he murmured. "So the trigger is external articulation, not vocalization per se. Fascinating." They repeated the test. Elena spoke. Nothing. Another staffer repeated her words. A gas main exploded in Quito. Night swallowed the bunker before Avila accepted her interpretation. "This responsibility," he said, voice hoarse, "is unimaginable." "I want the manuscript destroyed," Elena replied. He shook his head. "Knowledge cannot be unlearned, but perhaps we can use it judiciously. Issue controlled warnings, evacuate places in advance, minimize casualties." "And still kill some as payment?" she asked. "Who decides who dies?" Avila had no answer. They assigned her a cell furnished like a hotel room. Still, guards posted outside reminded her of a prisoner's status. Days blurred together. Tests, analyses, more reluctant prophecies. Every time a technician repeated her lines, A new sorrow blossomed somewhere. A mudslide in Colombia, a ferry sinking in the Philippines, a stampede at a Ghanaian soccer match. Casualties were lower thanks to evacuations, but blood was blood. The math haunted her. On the 6th day, they brought in Director Salcedo, a man with diplomat's smile and soldier's shoulders. He praised her cooperation, cited lives saved, offered state honors. "You have turned curse into civic virtue," he claimed. Elena pictured the ledger on his desk, a bureaucrat tallying souls like commodities. She asked, "What if I refuse to speak at all?" Salcedo's smile thinned. "Then disasters resume without forewarning. You'd carry their burden in silence." "Better silence than murder," she said. The next morning she awoke to damp pillowcases. Her ears had bled in the night from internal pressure. Images of the codex gnawed her dreams, glyphs writhing into shapes of collapse. She realized silence might kill her eventually. The cult had perhaps evolved rituals to vent the pressure harmlessly. Chants recited into caverns, maybe, where no living thing could hear. A canyon, an ocean trench, vacuum. An idea ignited. She demanded a walk in the courtyard for mental health. Surprised, the staff complied, 2 guards flanking her. The courtyard, once a bomb-proof atrium, opened to the city sky. A helicopter pad occupied its center. She spoke a single English sentence, "I need fresh air." They granted her 5 minutes. She inhaled smog and hope. Then she turned to guard number 1. "Could you hand me that notebook? I should jot impressions before they fade." He passed it over. She tore a page, wrote the cult tongue's phonetic script in thick strokes, folded the page twice, tucked it in her bra. Goose flesh flared over her arms. She carried a loaded grenade of language. Back inside, she asked to see Dr. Avila privately. She claimed to feel a prophecy brewing and wanted his counsel. Anxious for data, Avila led her to the booth alone. They entered, door sealed. Elena shoved the folded page through the booth's pass-through slot. "You'll want this translated first," she said. Avila, curious, unfolded it and read silently. Nothing happened. Elena whispered, "Read it aloud. I think it references a local threat." When he began voicing the syllables, she turned on the intercom to the control room, amplifying his recitation through every corridor speaker in the bunker, ensuring each soul present became audience. She pressed stop after the last syllable. Avila stared, realizing too late he'd been weaponized. "What did I just summon?" he breathed. "An ending," Elena said. The bunker trembled. Dust rained from ceiling plates. Sirens keened, red lights strobed. Over the PA, technicians reported simultaneous failures. Backup generators overheating, sprinkler systems empty, blast doors refusing manual override. Elena recalled the marginal glyph she had studied, a spiral uncoiling into blank parchment. Oblivion. The prophecy she had written was a recursion. Its subject was the bunker itself, its doom contingent on their hearing, and only them. If pattern held, casualties would be confined within these walls. The world outside might continue untouched. Avila lunged for her. She shoved him against acoustic foam and bolted into the hallway. Pandemonium reigned. Sparks spewed from conduits. She sprinted toward the archive wing where they had stored Codex Vitreus in a lead case. Shock waves tossed her against steel frames, but she reached the vault. Elena keyed the pad to 000, Avila's pathetic password, and yanked open the case. Pages shimmered like oil on water, hungry. She grabbed a lighter from her pocket, confiscated during intake but stolen back from guard Nortu's jacket earlier. Flipping the wheel, she touched flame to the brittle vellum. Smoke coiled, smelling of brine and cloves. Sprinklers would not douse it. They were already dry. Sheet by sheet she fed the codex to fire until only curling ash remained. Pipes shrieked overhead. Floor plates buckled. She doubted she'd exit alive, yet calm settled upon her like first snow. The manuscript's language died with these walls. No one else would speak it again. A fissure split the corridor, inhaling fluorescent fixtures. Heat battered her. She staggered toward an emergency ladder that led to maintenance ducts. Overhead, masonry cracked, rebar screamed. She began climbing. Behind, the bunker sagged into its own funeral. Static swallowed the PA. One last aftershock shuddered up the ladder, but the concrete above held. She pushed a grate open and crawled into a deserted storage room lined with decommissioned typewriters, relics of another era's secrets. A hatch to street level beckoned. She heaved it aside and emerged behind the castle gardens. Dawn bruised the horizon lilac. Sirens moaned across the city, responding perhaps to the localized quake she had birthed. Yet Chapultepec's towers still stood. Traffic lights flicked green. Life marched bewildered but intact. Elena slumped against a cypress. Tears leaked, half grief, half relief. She had purchased the world's safety with an evil circle of deaths, including, she suspected, Avila and Salcedo. She would carry them like stones forever. Footsteps approached. A figure in sweatpants, jogger or early commuter, paused. "Señora, ¿está bien?" Elena hoisted a shaky smile. Words balanced on her tongue. For a moment she feared some fragment of cult tongue survived within her. She tested a syllable. English, blessedly neutral. "I'm fine," she said, and nothing happened.